A teenager gains a power that brings pleasure to others. But what will he do with it? In the middle of the night, a man named Pfluger digs up what appears to be a grave. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning strikes, sending him flying back to his truck. Shaken but smiling, he leaves the scene. Kelly, a shy high school student, goes to a store to buy some food. On his way out, he bumps into his crush, Dominique, and her friend, Sarah. Although Dominique seems interested in him, Kelly is too timid to talk to her. Kelly has an eating disorder that compels him to eat non-food objects. Some bullies from school, Nelson, Reed, Tony, and Brad, catch him in the act and start mocking him. Dominique tries to defend him, but they toss Kelly headfirst into a trash can while filming the scene. Fortunately, the store owner breaks up the incident. Back at school, Kelly's eating disorder appears to be worsening. He lives in a trailer with his mother, Bernice. We also meet Red Elk, who's performing a ritual of sorts. A doctor visits Kelly, advising him to see a specialist since his issue is mental, not physical. Meanwhile, Pfluger convinces a group of people that he can cure any illness with his hands, for a fee. A woman with a leg problem agrees to be healed, and Pfluger places his hand on her knee. Miraculously, the woman recovers in front of the crowd. Impressed, Bernice asks him to help her son, and he agrees. Red Elk later confronts Pfluger, demanding he return the healing power that has belonged to his ancestors for over 100 years. Red Elk warns that anyone who tries to harm him only ends up hurting themselves. Pfluger refuses to give back the power and leaves with Bernice. When they arrive at Kelly's home, Pfluger insists on getting paid before he helps him. He touches Kelly but feels unwell and heads to the bathroom to collect himself. Pfluger returns, smoking, and when he touches Kelly again, he experiences all of Kelly's ailments and suddenly dies. Kelly wakes up and, for the first time in ages, tells his mother he's hungry. Bernice notices that the scar on Kelly's chest has disappeared. The next morning, Kelly accidentally cuts his finger, but the wound heals instantly. He tells his mother, but she doesn't quite believe him, just happy that his disorder seems cured. Later, when Kelly's bike breaks down, he encounters Dominique again, who comments on how different he looks. As Kelly turns to leave, Red Elk appears and strikes him, but each blow rebounds onto Red Elk, frightening him enough to make him flee. Kelly shares with his mother that he found a job. Suddenly there's a loud knock on the door. Gus, Red and Nelson's father and the school coach demands to know who hit his son. Kelly explains, but Gus doesn't believe him, which angers Bernice, and she slams the door in his face. After this, Kelly shows his mother his powers. He asks her to pinch him and she feels the pain instead. He even demonstrates that fire can't hurt him. In school, Sarah lends Dominic a hairband to tie her hair back. During class, Kelly, who is seated behind Dominic, notices the band falls in front of him. He picks it up gently and returns it. Kelly imagines himself with Dominique in a warm room where she tries to cool him down. In reality, Dominique begins to feel something unusual, and Sarah starts to feel similar sensations too. In his imagination, Kelly envisions Dominique and Sarah embracing him, causing them both to feel increasingly excited until Sarah lets out a sound in class. Kelly tumbles from his chair and quickly leaves while the girls are left puzzled. That night, they all meet at the beach where Nelson and his friends are bothering Dominic. Kelly sees this and steps in to defend her. The guys threaten him, but now, knowing his superpower, Kelly isn't afraid. Gus tells his sons to back off, but also warns Kelly of what he'll do once he learns what happened. Angered, Kelly grabs his bike and rides away. Brad and his friends follow in their sports car, trying to scare him by driving too close. At one point, Kelly falls from his bike and is hit by the car, but it's Brad who suffers the injuries. Shocked, the others jump out of the car, try to call an ambulance, but flee when they see Kelly unharmed, leaving Brad behind. Later, Kelly changes his shirt, noticing his wounds healing instantly. Dominic and Sarah find the abandoned car on the roadside and see Kelly without a scratch. He explains everything to them. Eventually, the police arrive with Kelly's mother, Bernice, and the sheriff questions the group, who falsely claim that Kelly caused the accident by stepping in front of the car. The next morning, Dominic gives Kelly hints to invite her to the movies, but he doesn't catch on, so she ends up inviting him. Meanwhile, Nelson and his friends plot revenge. That evening, Kelly is with his mother, who's feeling unwell, so he heads out to get her medicine. The bullies wait outside his trailer, and as soon as Kelly leaves, they put their plan into action. They tie the trailer's base to a truck and pull it, causing it to drop heavily, trapping Bernice inside. The impact leads to a gas leak, and moments later the trailer explodes with her still inside. Kelly pulls his mother from the flames, but it's too late. Later, at the hospital, the sheriff returns Kelly's belongings. Red Elk asks the sheriff for help to reclaim a power he says belongs to his people, but the sheriff doesn't believe him. After saying goodbye to his mother, Kelly runs to Pfluger's grave, with Dominic following. She tells him it's unfair that he has to leave, then kisses him on the cheek, giving Kelly the courage to finally kiss Dominic as he had always dreamed. However, she realizes that Kelly was behind the strange experience she felt in class that day, so she says goodbye and leaves. Kelly eats one of the leaves on Pfluger's grave, but immediately vomits. Sarah, who's watching from a distance, sees everything. Later, the sheriff takes Kelly to his new temporary home, mentioning that it appears the support of his mother's trailer was tampered with before it exploded. Just then, Kelly sees the guys who were responsible for his mother's death speeding past them, and enraged, he jumps out of the car. The group heads to the river, where Tower jumps into the water. Kelly finds his clothes, grabs a piece of his shirt, and uses his power to make Tower sink. Nelson pulls Tower to shore, but it's too late. Spotting Kelly, Red flees. Kelly is about to confront the next one, but the sheriff arrives, forcing Kelly to escape. That night, he goes to Dominic and confesses his plans for revenge, but she persuades him to force the guys to confess rather than seek vengeance. The next day at school, Kelly taunts Tony, who, in anger, throws chemicals at him, only to end up burning his own face. Sarah punches Kelly in the groin, and for the first time, he experiences what it feels like to be hit there. Kelly is about to confront Nelson, but the sheriff arrives to help Tony, giving Kelly a chance to slip away. That evening, Sarah tells Nelson she saw Kelly eat those strange leaves, realizing they might be his weakness. They decide to gather leaves from Pfluger's grave. The next morning, Red Elk gets permission to open Pfluger's grave while Gus trains Nelson. Meanwhile, the sheriff finds the chain used to pull down Bernice's trailer and confronts the guys. Kelly sneaks into their truck, finds a drill, and eats a piece of underwear. Nelson holds the container with the leaves, but Kelly uses a drill to injure himself, forcing Nelson to confess. The sheriff tries to calm Kelly down, admitting he knows about the powers Kelly received. Dominic arrives just as Gus attempts to stop Kelly but ends up on the ground instead. Nelson sprays the liquid on Kelly, weakening him, but Dominic quickly cleans it off. Gus grabs the sheriff's gun and aims it at Kelly, but when he pulls the trigger, he ends up killing both himself and his son Nelson. Afterward, Dominic and Sheriff Adler persuade Kelly to return the power. That night, Red Elk prepares a ritual to retrieve it, but Kelly has held the power too long, making it impossible to remove without killing him. Kelly tries to escape, but one of the officers accidentally injures both him and Dominique. Before she dies, Dominique asks him not to give up his power. Determined, Kelly decides that the power will die with him. Kelly consumes Pfluger's heart, experiencing all the pain he has endured before passing away with Dominique. Later, as their bodies are being transported, Dominique suddenly awakens, now holding the power herself, with a vengeful look in her eyes. That's the end of today's video. Please remember to support the channel by liking this video and subscribing if you haven't already. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next recap.
A man discovered something horrible while swimming. A group of naughty kids were peeping at his wife with a telescope, but instead of stopping them, he came to his wife and advised her not to care, saying that they were just a group of kids. The funny thing is that these naughty kids not only did not choose to stop, instead, they become more and more aggressive. They first let a vicious dog come to harass his wife, and then deliberately turned up the volume of the stereo to the maximum. This series of actions directly angered the man, and he walked towards the group of naughty children angrily. "And what's your dog? He's scaring my girlfriend. These naughty kids relying on their numbers don't take the man seriously and keep insulting his wife in front of him. Men don't want to argue with a group of unreasonable kids, especially when they are outnumbered. You can't benefit from it either. After weighing the pros and cons, the man left in disgrace, and the good mood of the holiday was shattered. But he didn't want to bring this emotion to his wife, and he quickly adjusted his mood. Then he took the tent out of his backpack and called his wife over. Ha 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 ha. Looking at her husband's nonsensical behavior, she still gave him a thumbs up tacitly. Although there was an unpleasant episode in the middle, they quickly adjusted their mentality and spent a wonderful afternoon in Lake Eden. However, when they got ashore, they found that their luggage had been stolen. What's worse is that even the car was stolen. After the fuck, they had to go into the woods to look for the car. Just when they were at a loss, a familiar roar suddenly came from the distance. Fortunately, the man reacted quickly. Otherwise, his wife might have been killed on the spot. It was only then that they discovered that the ones who stole the car were those nasty kids. This made the man even more furious. He secretly swore to himself that he would make these naughty kids pay the price. Finally, we found these naughty kids around a campfire. The man told the kid that he just wanted his car back. As long as they handed over the keys, he would let bygones be bygones. But the naughty kids had no intention of returning them. Even with men's sunglasses on, they could still say with a clear conscience that they didn't do it. As luck would have it, the man's cell phone suddenly rang. Just as he was about to step forward to pick it up, he was threatened by several people with knives. But the man was an adult after all, and he easily snatched the knife. But unexpectedly, something unexpected happened during the stalemate. After stabbing the vicious dog, the man asked the kid to hand over the car keys. The furious kid threw the car keys away, and the two of them fled in a panic with the keys. However, the car got stuck in the mud before it had gone far, unable to move. On the other side, the naughty boy's beloved dog died due to excessive blood loss. The angry naughty boy ordered to catch the man, and they soon caught up with the man. As the naughty kids retaliated, the man's front windshield and headlights were soon smashed. At the critical moment, the car finally drove out of the mud. However, due to the lack of headlights and insufficient light, the car accidentally crashed into a tree. What was worse was that a branch just happened to catch the man's chest, trapping him in the seat. Could not move. Seeing that he had no way to escape, the man handed his cell phone to his wife and told her to get out of the forest first. Find someone else to help. The wife ran away, leaving the man helplessly in the car, waiting for the arrival of the naughty child. No matter how he struggled, the branch on his chest could not move at all. He never expected that things would become so uncontrollable. As the car window was smashed, the man's fate began to become confusing. The next morning, the woman did not choose to leave the forest. She returned to the car only to find that her husband was gone. Following the blood trail, she saw her husband. The man was covered in blood, with his hands tied with wire ropes, and the group of naughty children surrounded him. The bear kid told the man, "For my dog, you must repay life with life. He was the one who told all the kids. Now each of you has to stab this man. Everything that happens here will be recorded on video. No one can escape." The woman couldn't stand it anymore, so she took out her phone to call the police. But her phone was connected to her husband's Bluetooth. The naughty kid discovered the situation with his mobile phone. The woman exposed herself, and all the other kids rushed over to chase her, while the seriously injured man took the opportunity to break free from the wire rope. On the other side, the naughty kids lost the woman. And at this time, the woman finally met her husband again. She supported the man and hid in an abandoned wooden house on the riverbank. She tried her best to stop the bleeding for her husband, but the wound in his abdomen continued to ooze out black blood. It was at this moment that the woman felt the ring on her husband's body. The husband smiled bitterly and told his wife, "I have already thought about where we will go for our first wedding anniversary. How about that?" The wife held the ring and stopped her husband's bleeding and responded that Africa was a good place. At this time, the naughty kids had followed the blood trail and found the woman's cabin. In the water, she held up her husband while paying attention to the movements on the floor. After the naughty kids left, the woman found some branches and hid her husband. She put on the ring sadly and told her husband to hold on and she would go find someone to help. But the man seemed not to hear it and just looked tired. Looking at his wife, he felt his eyelids getting heavier and heavier, and everything around him began to become blurry, as if a last glimmer of light was coming back. The man became unusually calm. He looked at his wife quietly. His memories were intertwined like fragments. He felt like he had had a very, very long dream. Now he woke up from the dream, and he came to pick up his wife from get off work as usual. Suddenly, a sexy beauty emerged from the stinking cesspool. But after the woman crawled out, he had no choice. Instead of cleaning the stains on your body, you stand in front of the mirror and observe your current appearance. But he neglected the danger. At this moment, after the gangster's face appeared in the mirror behind him, the woman became so ruthless and decisive because she was forced by this group of gangsters. Because just after the woman was awakened by a basin of cold water, she found that the thugs had tied her and her dead husband to a tree stump, with broken wood piled under their feet and gasoline poured on them. It is conceivable that these thugs wanted to burn them to death. But no matter how much the woman begged, the gangsters showed no mercy. He was even looking forward to the moment when fire would break out. In order to force Xiaohei to join the gang leader threatened him to light the fire. The flames of sin, as the raging fire burned, the woman looked painful and desperate. On the other hand, the gang leader jumped up excitedly without feeling the slightest bit of guilt. But fortunately, the rope that tied the woman was also burned off, which allowed him to struggle free in his desperate moment. He immediately picked up the fire stick on the ground and started waving it, then kicked over the gasoline barrel next to him, and instantly a wall of fire burned at the fingertips of the two men. The gang leader saw the woman running away, but he didn't chase him anymore. Instead, he pulled Xiaohei over and used him as a threat. When she heard Xiaohei's desperate cry for help, and there was no reason to face these little demons who killed her husband, the woman had long lost her original mercy. With a shrill scream, one can imagine how miserable Xiaohei's end was. While the woman was running away, she found this old map of the forest in front of her, but just as she was looking for a way out, she heard the voices of gangsters coming from a distance. In a desperate situation, she had to hide in the septic tank. The gangster saw the map that the woman had torn off and decided to go to the road that the woman had to take and wait for the gangster to leave. The woman emerged from the fetid cesspool, apparently having heard the gangster's plan, and she staggered. He walked to the broken glass, wanting to fight back with the glass in his hand. At this moment, the woman in the mirror was full of hatred. Her eyes revealed firmness and determination, which also represented that the woman had completely turned evil. Her first step of revenge was to attack the thug behind her. She turned around suddenly and stabbed the thug who was about to launch a sneak attack, her eyes full of hatred. At night, the gangsters' companions discovered the body. This scene made them scared, and they began to back off. But it's all too late. The gang leader had already become mad and crazy. Seeing his younger brother was about to quit, he instantly lost his mind and beat the younger brother to death in an extremely brutal way. The young girl who was usually responsible for filming was also scared and took the opportunity to escape. The woman on the other side had already escaped to the roadside and was luckily rescued by a truck driver. But after a brief communication, the woman realized that the driver was not in the right direction. She realized from the subtle words that the driver was actually the brother of one of the gangsters. When she saw two people walking out from the fence, her guess was confirmed. While the three were not paying attention, the woman quickly moved to the driver's seat and drove away.